Hello students, today we will be studying about the topic measurement of bacteria. Now what is the importance, why do we need to measure bacteria, or rather let us study what is measurement of bacteria. Measurement is here when we talk about measurement of any other object, maybe we are talking about the length or breadth or the girth of that particular object. But here measurement of bacteria means we are counting the number of microorganisms or the number of bacteria. We are not counting, we are not measuring, or we are not checking the length or breadth of the bacteria here. Measurement here means we are considering the number of bacteria. The load of microorganisms is the measurement of bacteria. The next question that comes to our mind is, why is measurement important? Now measurement is important in various fields. Like for example, if we are considering in pathology, if a person is suffering from a particular disease, or if a person is infected with a particular organism, the person's body may not show any symptoms until and unless a particular load is attained. Microorganisms or a bacteria would have entered the person's body, but after attaining a particular number, only then the person the person's body may start showing the symptoms. So the number is very important there. If the number is less, probably the person may not show the symptoms, the body may not show the symptoms, and it may be easy for the recovery. If we are considering in food industry, if we are considering any food that is available, that's there, for example the food that we have in our lunch boxes or the food that we prepare at home, definitely there will be organisms in the food. But does it mean to say that every time we see the food appears spoiled? No. If the number is less, the food may have the microorganisms but may not appear spoiled. The food appears spoiled after the organisms have multiplied, they have produced their toxins. After a particular load, then the food will start appearing spoiled. Same thing which happens in the industry. Now if I start with a lesser load of the organisms, like for example in dairy industry, lesser number of microorganisms, definitely organisms are required in the dairy industry to convert milk to milk products. If I use less organisms, the inoculum that I am using is very important there. How much of the inoculum that I am using to convert milk to milk products. Lesser the inoculum, it may take a longer duration, or I may not get the desired product. So the load, again, the number of organisms that I am taking there is very important. So that is why it is important for us to measure, or it is important for us to consider the load or to count the number of organisms that is in particular bacteria. Now bacterial measurement, or to count the bacteria, there are various methods. One of them, it can be classified as viable cell count and total cell count. What do you mean by viable cell count? Viable cell count means you are counting only the living organisms, only the live organisms, because living organisms are the ones which is actually going to divide, will multiply, increase in number, ultimately lead to the pathogenicity, or maybe ultimately it can the person's body start showing the symptoms, or the food will get spoiled. So the living organisms are the one which is important. So if you are counting only the living organisms, that is called as viable cell count. In industry or in various places, total cell count is also followed. Now what is this total cell count? You are counting the dead organisms as well as viable organisms. That is, you are counting the living organisms as well as the dead organisms. So that's called as a total cell count. Now it can be followed in different methods, or another way of counting the bacteria is indirect method, though it is not taken into consideration, is not followed now, but that is also a method, that is indirect method. Now what is indirect method? Now if I have to go back, in viable cell count and in total cell count, Both these methods, the number, I mean we are counting, we are observing the cells, we are counting the cells directly. So that is the direct method. Now what is this indirect method? I am not counting the cells, rather than probably I am taking the dry weight, I am taking the weight, I am taking the mass. Organisms are growing in a plate, the organisms are growing in a broth. Then what do? I will remove the moisture content from the cells, and then I will take the dry weight, I will take the mass, I will take the weight of the organisms. Now considering the weight, then I may say that this the weight the weight is more, and hence the cell number is more. The weight is less, hence in this particular conical flask the organisms were less. So here I am not actually counting the cells, but I am considering the weight. So more weight means we are considering more organisms, less weight, less organisms. Here there are chances that you may even consider the debris, etc. So these are the things which can come into picture there. Also you can consider the nitrogen content, you purify the nitrogen content, and then you consider the organisms more amount of nitrogen, then you will say that more amount of nitrogen means there are more cells, less amount of nitrogen means lesser cells. So this is another method of indirect. You are not counting the cells, you are not actually observing the cells, you are not considering the cells here, you are actually considering the nitrogen content. Based on the nitrogen content you are calculating, or you are giving the result as the more cells are there or lesser number of cells are there. Now the direct one is the one which is followed generally. Direct methods. Indirect methods, I told there are two types: viable cell count and total cell count. Viable cell count, we said that it is the living organisms, counting the living organisms. They are of different types, that is plate count, membrane filter and MPN. Plate count, membrane filter and MPN. Now what is MPN? Most probable number. Total cell count, there are different methods like DMC, direct microscopic count, counting chamber method, and Coulter counter method. So these are the different direct methods of counting the viable as well as the total cells. Now let us go to the first part, that is the first kind, which is plate count method. In plate count method, first I need to do serial dilution. Now what is this serial dilution? I have a sample with me. The load of organisms may be very high, it may be difficult for me to count the number of cells. So in order to reduce the load, or in order to make it simpler, what will I do? I will dilute the sample of with, means I know the concentration, so of known concentration I will dilute the sample, and then I'll count the number of organisms and multiply by the dilution factor. So that is called as serial dilution. Serially I am diluting. Let us see the procedure here. What happens? I have a sample with me, and what are the other things which I need to keep ready? I need to keep a series of test tubes which will have 9 ml of distilled water. All the test tubes should have 9 ml of distilled water. Say I have liquid sample. So let us consider the example of a liquid sample. So when I am having a liquid sample, I will take a series of test tubes in which 9 ml of distilled water is there. You can still take 9 ml of buffer. You can also take saline. Generally it is 0.8% of saline which is taken. Okay. So what should I do is, this has to be sterile, and then I need to transfer 1 ml of the sample. This is the sample which somebody has given me, and the person tells, please find out how many organisms are there. So from the sample I will transfer 1 ml into the first tube. So what happens in the first tube? There was already 9 ml of distilled water, to that I have added 1 ml. So totally it becomes 10 ml. So this particular tube, the sample has got diluted 10 times. So I will write it as one sample which has got diluted 10 times, or I can write 1 by 10, or I can write 10 power minus 1 dilution. So this is called as 10 power minus 1 dilution. Now remember, in the second tube I had again 9 ml of sterile distilled water. Now from the first tube, that is 10 power minus 1 dilution, which is diluted 10 times, I will transfer 1 ml into the second tube. When I transfer 1 ml into the second tube, what happens? This again gets diluted 10 times. So if you remember, in the first tube the dilution was 10 times, again in the second tube the dilution became 10 times. So it is 10 into 10 dilution. So I can write it as 1 by 1 sample which has got diluted 100 times, 10 into 10 which is 100. So I can write it as 1 by 100 or 10 power minus 2 dilution. So the same thing holds good. When I transfer to the third tube, it becomes 10 power minus 3 dilution. When I transfer to the fourth tube, it becomes 10 power minus 4 dilution, and so on. So this is how I do serial dilution. So in the first time, I would have diluted the sample 10 times. In the second tube, I would have diluted the sample to 100 times. In the third one, I have diluted 1000 times. In the fourth one, I have diluted 10,000 times, and so on. So this is called as serial dilution. So is this sufficient for me to count the number of organisms? No, I need to observe them. Remember, I am going to count the number of living organisms. I cannot see. One of the drawbacks of the liquid media is I cannot see how many colonies are there, how many types of organisms are there. It is not possible for me to see using a liquid sample, and it's just saline or water. So what should I do? Now I should give the required nutrients for the organisms to grow. So here there are two methods which is followed. One is called as the pour plate method, and other one is called as the spread plate method. Pour plate method and spread plate method. Now in pour plate method, what happens? Let us see. Now in pour plate method, what do I do? Now I would have diluted, so one particular dilution, why I have diluted? So that the work becomes easier for me, so that I can observe the organisms, I can count the organisms. Say probably I will plate out 10 power minus 3 dilution. Now here what am I going to do? I will take a Petri plate which is empty, which is sterilized. I will take a empty Petri plate which is sterilized. Simultaneously, I will have molten agar with me, which is prepared and sterilized, which is ready. Remember, I will have to sterilize one empty Petri plate. Along with that, I need to prepare nutrient agar and keep it ready with me, which is still in the molten state. It is not solidified, nor it should be too hot. Then what I should do is, I will have to take 1 ml from the required dilution. Now in this case, we have taken the example of 10 power minus 3. So what I will do is, I will take 1 ml from the 10 power minus 3 dilution. This is one example that I am giving you. And then transfer it into the plate, empty Petri plate, empty sterile Petri plate. Now these are very important keywords, not any Petri plate, sterile Petri plate. And then after doing this, after transferring 1 ml of the sample into the empty Petri plate, what am I going to do? I have to add the molten agar into the plate which is having the sample. The agar, which has to be molten, still in a liquid form, but remember that it should not have been solidified, and also it should not be very hot. If you know that agar melts at 45 degrees centigrade, that means at 45 and above 45, the agar will start melting and it will be in the liquid form. Below 45 degree, what will happen is the media will start solidifying, the agar will start solidifying. I don't want solidified media here. At the same time, I do not want very hot media. Now why is that so? If I add hot media, there are chances that definitely sensitive organisms will die. I don't want that to happen. So I will transfer, it has to be, the temperature should be somewhere around 42 to 45 degree, still in the molten form, and I will transfer the media into the Petri plate which has the sample. After adding the media, I will gently rock the plate on the platform, so that there is even distribution of the sample throughout the plate. The organisms should be distributed throughout the plate. They should not get saturated in one place. Now after this, I will keep the plate for incubation. Bacteria, since we are talking about bacteria here, I will keep it at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours. After 24 hours, next day I will come and check for the results. What am I going to check? I will find colonies. Now you can see here dotted dot like things, isn't it? Now those are the colonies. Now what are the colonies? If there is one cell, I cannot see with my naked eye. When many cells come together, when they grow together, they appear as colonies on the solid media. Okay, so that is called as the colony. When many cells come together, they grow together, they appear, there is a visible growth on the solid media, and that's called as a colony. And I am going to count these dotted structures. In other words, I am going to count the colonies here, assuming or understanding that one cell or one colony has come from one cell. Yesterday when I have kept it for incubation, or when I have added the sample, there was one cell. That one cell today after 24 hours I have divided many times, and I can see one colony there. Suppose I can see 13 colonies on the plate, which means yesterday there were 13 cells, and today after division I can see 13 colonies. Okay, so that is what I am going to count here. So number of colonies which has come from that many cells. So when you are giving the result, it is colony forming units. You are going to give the results as colony forming units. I have told you that, say, consider there were 13 colonies. So which means there were 13 cells. Now how do you actually give the result? You are going to give the result. The formula goes like this: number of colonies into the dilution factor. Now what is the dilution factor? Dilution factor is a reciprocal of the dilution. What is the dilution here? 10 power minus 3. Reciprocal of the dilution is 1. It's 1 by 10 power minus 3. It becomes 10 power 3. Okay. So the formula is number of colonies into the dilution factor divided by the volume of the sample. Now what do you mean by volume of the sample? How much of sample you have transferred from the tube to the plate. So how much of sample did we take? 1 ml. So it is 13 colonies into the dilution factor, that is 10 power 3 divided by 1. So whatever answer you are getting here, so here you will get 13 into 10 power 3 CFU per ml. This is how you will give the result. Now what is a CFU? Colony forming units. Remember students, we are not telling here cells because we are counting colonies, assuming that one colony has come from one cell. So your result also should be in colony forming units. So your result here will be 13 into 10 power 3 colony forming units per ml. So this is what is your result. Okay, so this is about your pour plate method. Why it is called as pour plate method? Because you are pouring the media onto the sample. That is the reason. Now where can you find the colonies in pour plate method? You can find completely colonies growing at the base, basal colonies, or the subsurface colonies will appear. Not the surface, because you are not adding the sample on the surface of the media. Now why is this important? For growing facultative, anaerobe or microaerophilic organisms, this kind of technique is useful. So that is one kind of plate technique. Another one is your spread plate method. Now what is a spread plate method? It is the same thing what we are going to do. That is, say we are going to consider, say we will take the same example, 10 power minus 3 dilution, we will plate. Now in this, what are the things that we need to keep ready? I need to have the sample, plus I need to have a Petri plate which has media in it, a solidified media. Remember, in pour plate it was empty plate and media we are pouring afterwards, but here I need to have a plate which has media, and that media should have been solidified. Here it is nutrient agar because bacteria. Then what do I do? Generally we use nutrient agar for bacteria, so that is why I mentioned nutrient agar. Then what do we do is, say because we have taken 10 power minus 3 as the example, say the same thing we will use From here, the sample that I am going to take is, it will be 0.1 ml of the sample. So in the plate which has media, I will transfer 0.1 ml of the sample onto the agar, onto the media, and then using a L rod, it is like a glass rod which is L shaped. It is also called as a L rod, or it is also called as a spreader. Using the L rod, I will sterilize the L rod using alcohol, and then I will spread the L rod. With the help of the L rod, I will spread the agar, or I will spread the sample throughout. So what I will do is, I will open the plate, sterilize the L rod, spread it throughout, close the plate, turn the plate, again I will spread. So this is what I will be doing. So constantly I will be spreading the media, I will be constantly spreading the sample. So I would have spread the sample evenly, then I will close the plate and I will keep it for incubation. Again bacteria, hence 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours. Next day I will have to come and check for the result. What will I see? I will see for colonies. What kind of colonies? Again, the colonies will be surface colonies. Remember, I am not adding the sample below, I am adding the sample on the surface of the media. So that is why the colonies will appear on the surface. Now this is for aerobic organisms. So this method we can follow for aerobes. I want to check for the aerobic organisms, I will use this particular method. Then I'll count the number of colonies, multiply by the dilution factor, divided by the volume of the sample. Now what is the volume of the sample here? Remember, from the tube to the plate I have taken 0.1 ml. So volume of the sample will be 0.12. So how many colonies we have got? 13 colonies into the dilution factor is 10 power 3 divided by 0.1. So whatever answer I will get here, it is that answer into, that is colony CFU per ml. So this is how you are going to write the result. You are going to give the result. Now this is also called as SPC, standard plate count. This is the method which is generally followed in most of the labs and also in the dairy industry, to count the number of organisms present in the dairy industry in the milk sample. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using this method? Advantages of using this method is, I will be able to count the living organisms, which is very important, because living organisms are the ones which will ultimately result in spoilage or disease causing, etc. Next, I can also, since it is grown on the agar plate, on the solid media plate, I will be able to differentiate different types of colonies. How many types? It's not whether organisms are growing or not only counting. Not only that, I can also, looking at the colony characteristics, every organism, every bacteria will have specific colony characteristics which you would have already studied. What is colony characteristics? So every bacteria will have a particular colony. Like if you are considering Staphylococcus, it will show small colonies, round colonies, and which is golden yellow. So if you are considering Bacillus will have large irregular colonies and they will be off white. So every bacteria will have a specific colony character. So you can also find out how many different types of organisms are there in this method. So that is another advantage of using this method. Disadvantage is, it takes long time. You need to wait for 24 hours to get the result. So that is one disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that it will of course you require equipped personnel, you require sophisticated instruments to perform this particular experiment. A huge number of glassware is involved in performing this experiment. So that is the disadvantage. One thing I forgot to tell you, students, I told you, you will take 9 ml of water in all the tubes for serial dilution if it is a liquid sample. If it's a solid sample, remember all the tubes will have 9 ml of distilled water, but in the first sample, first tube, you will have to take 10 ml of distilled water or saline or buffer, okay, because that you will be adding 1 gram of the solid sample. If it's a soil sample, again it is solid in nature, you will take 1 gram of the soil. 1 gram is not equal to 1 ml. So the first tube you will have to dilute 10 times, isn't it? So that's the reason you will take 10 ml of the sample water in the first tube, and then to that you will add 1 gram of the sample. That is the difference if it's a solid sample and the liquid sample. So that's about the plate count technique. Remember, SPC is standard plate count. Okay, so that finishes off with the plate count technique. The next method is the membrane filter technique. What is this membrane filter technique? Is you are using a bacterial filter pad to count the number of organisms. Now what you do is you have a conical flask, and to the conical flask you will keep a funnel, and onto the funnel you will place a bacterial filter. Now what do you mean by filter? It is something which traps the unwanted things there. Now here bacterial filter means it will trap the bacteria, and then on top you will keep another beaker into which you are going to add the sample. You will add the sample, and when the sample is getting transferred, it will move through the bacterial filter. All the bacteria will get entrapped, or it will get collected onto the bacterial filter, and only the filtrate, only the liquid part will move into the conical flask. Now the bacterial filter which has the sample or which has the bacteria which has got entrapped on that, I will take the bacterial filter and I will place it onto the Petri plate which is already having microorganisms on the, which is already having media on that. Okay, I will take the bacterial filter and I will place the bacterial filter on the surface of the plate which has prepared media, that is which is having media, solidified media on that. Then what do I do is I will gently press it, and then I will place this plate in the incubator. Next day I will come and check for the results. When I check for the results, I would have found that definitely colonies, there will be colony growth on the plate or on the filter pad. I will count the number of colonies here. Based on the number of colonies, I will say that this many colonies or this many cells were there when you gave me the sample. These many organisms were there in the given sample. There are two methods, that is, one, I will either place the filter pad onto the bacterial filter onto the Petri plate, gently press it onto the Petri plate which is having media for some time, and I will remove the filter pad. The organisms which were stuck, which were attached onto the filter pad would have got detached and moved into the media, and organisms, I will count the organisms present on the plate, on the media. Or I will not remove the bacterial filter, that is, after removing the bacterial filter from here, I will place the bacterial filter on the media, and the bacterial filter remains, and with the bacterial filter I am going to incubate, and next day I will check the organisms present on the bacterial filter, colonies grown on the bacterial filter. So this is another method. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Advantages here, again, you can count the living organisms, and it does not require many glasswares as such, just one maximum of 3 to 4 glasswares which is involved here. These are the things. And the disadvantages is that I cannot use this for a solid media, I can use this only for a liquid media. Can I transfer solid sample through the bacterial filter? It's not possible. It's useful only for a liquid media. Next one, again, I have to wait for 24 hours, so it is time consuming experiment. So that is about your liquid, that is about your membrane filter technique, which requires time. So that is about your membrane filter technique. Moving on to MPN, that is most probable number. MPN is called as most probable number. This is the technique which is used to count the number of cells present in water sample. This test has three tests involved. This particular technique has three tests, that is presumptive, confirmed and completed test. But the other two tests, that is confirmed and completed test, we are going to check for the particular organism, that is not for counting. Counting is only the presumptive test. Now this is the presumptive test. Now what do we do here? Generally this test is done to check the potability of water, to check whether the water is being contaminated by sewage water, to check that how do we check that? To check for the presence of coliforms here basically. What do we do is we use lactose broth, because the coliforms can consume lactose, and coliforms are the one which has the capability to release out acid as well as gas as the end product. So based on this baseline, the test is considered here. Now what are we going to do? We are going to, as I told, we are going to take lactose broth. To lactose broth we are going to add one indicator, which is phenol red. Now what is the property of phenol red? Property of phenol red is that it remains maroon or dark red at neutral pH. As the pH of the media becomes acidic, the color of the medium also starts fading away, that is from maroon to red to orange to yellow. More acid the solution, the color also becomes lighter. So that's the principle here. Remember, here we are how we are going to count based on what organisms have released out, that is acid and gas as the end product. What are we going to do here? We are going to take set of test tubes, that is either 3 test tubes we can take, or set of 5 test tubes, or set of 6 test tubes. Now in this I have taken the example of 5 plus 5 plus 5 test tubes. Now what is the meaning of this? Now in the first set of tube I am going to add the lactose broth, which is double strength. Now double strength means what? Suppose say lactose, the amount of lactose that I should add is 5 gram. Instead of 5 gram I will add 10 gram. Okay, suppose amount of beef extract that I need to add is 2 gram, I will be adding 4 gram. So double the composition I will be adding. Required quantity, double the required quantity of each ingredient I will be adding. So that is a double strength. What is single strength? Single strength is the actual concentration of the nutrient or the ingredient that is required. So in the first set of 5 tubes I will be adding double strength of lactose broth. In the second set I will be adding single strength lactose broth. In the third one I will be adding single strength lactose broth. Along with that, what else do I need to add? Of course, phenol red will be added as an indicator, and I will be adding Durham's tube. Durham's tube is a small version of a test tube which is inverted and placed inside the test tube. Now, what I have to make sure that the Durham's tube is completely filled with the media, and I have to make sure that the pH is set to 7 here. Then in the first set of the 5 tubes, what I need to do is I will add 10 ml of the sample into each of the tubes. 10 ml of the sample into the first tube, second tube, third tube, fourth tube. So 10 ml each into the 5 tubes. Into the second set of 5 tubes, that is single strength, I will add 1 ml of the sample into each of the tubes, and into the third set I will add 0.1 ml of the sample into each of the tubes. I will keep it for incubation. Next day I will check for the presence of acid and gas. How many tubes are showing acid? How many tubes are showing gas? How will you check for acid production? As I told you, if the if the color of the media becomes lighter, that means the media has become acidic, which means the organism has released out acid into the media. So we will check which tube is showing yellow or orange color. Next, how do we check for the presence of gas? Remember, we had added Durham's tube in each of the tubes there. So if the organism has released out gas as the end product, the Durham's tube will have air bubble which is collected inside the Durham's tube. So that is the accumulation of gas, or that is how you check for the production of gas. Fine. So I've added the sample. Now I will keep it for incubation. Now again, since it's a bacteria that I am seeing for, I will keep it at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours and I will check for the result. Next day I will see how many tubes in each of the sets are showing acid as well as gas. Not only acid, I need both. Okay, some organisms, they have the capability or probability to you produce only acid. No, I want acid as well as gas here. So which means the tube should have faded the color, that is, it should have become orange or yellow, and also there should have been the accumulation of this air bubble. You can see here the color has faded as well as there is air bubble. There is gas accumulation in the Dunham's tube, but whereas that is not there in this tube. We will count how many tubes in each set is showing positive. For example, in this set I can see 4 tubes are showing positive. So how will I write my result? 4. Next I will see next set how many tubes are showing positive. So in the next set 2 tubes are showing positive. So I will write 4, 2. Then I will see in the next set how many tubes are showing positive. Nothing is showing positive here. So I will write 0. So what is my observation? 4, 2, 0. Now this 4, 2, 0 I need to check in a standardized MPN chart. There is one chart called as a MPN chart. Okay, now this chart is just like your log book where you see your logarithmic table, you compare, you want to check for a particular result, you see your log book and you get one result. The same thing holds good here also. So you will check for this particular reference number 4, 2, 0, where does it come? So whatever number, so for example 4, 2, 0 in the MPN chart it says 25,000 cells. So your result will be the given sample had 25,000 cells per ml of the given sample. So that is how you count the number of cells in MPN. Now here, as I told you, MPN is not restricted to only this test. MPN has 2 more tests which I am not explaining here because that we are not counting the number of cells. MPN generally is done to check for the presence of E. coli here. It's not restricted to only counting the number of cells, but it has further explanations. But if I want to only count the number of organisms, I will either go for the standard plate count, that is your pour plate, or spread plate, or I will go for pour plate technique, or I'll go for membrane filter technique. Now what are the advantages and disadvantages of this? Again, I need to wait for 24 hours. This has to be done by an equipped person. You cannot afford to have a non-microbiology person doing this because it can lead to contamination when you are doing set of many tubes there. So many glasswares are involved there. So these are all the disadvantages, waiting for a long time. Advantages, of course, you can count the number of cells, but as I told, this test, if I want to count the number of, this is not the test which we do. This is one of the tests to count the number of microorganisms, and we don't stop at this test. There are 2 more tests that is done if I want to find which particular organism is growing there, or if I want to find out whether E. coli is growing there or not. But to count the number of living cells, that is your pour plate, spread plate and your membrane filter generally are used. So these are the different tests which is done to count the number of microorganisms, that is viable cells. In the next video we will be seeing the methods to count the number of total organisms, that is viable as well as the dead cells. So thank you, students.